AOS news. Okay. The Aether War army set is out. Ben, what do you think of it?
So I think it's kind of cool. It's obviously not going to be everybody's cup of tea, as most of these things are, but it's nice to see them going in a little bit of a different direction, telling a little bit of a different story, because in this one, you get the Caradron Overlords going up against the Disciples of Zench. There's 2 stories for this one, just so you're aware, just so you can click through the different ones, because the first one we saw was just before Christmas, well, just after Christmas, and then the other one was a little bit later as well, which shows off the army set itself, all that kind of thing. But you get 2 new characters in the set, so you've got the Magister on his disc, so there's a Magister of Zench there. And there's also the Endrin Master with his weird dirigible suit that will no doubt, again, be quite a Marmite model, but it's out there as well. The set comes with a whole bunch of different flying models and all sorts of things there as well. So you've got loads of bits and pieces in there. So you've got a flying Caradron dwarves, your Duardin, and the little dirigible suits. You've also got some of the sort of airships they've got as well in there. And then on the other side for the Zenchian guys, you've also got the guys on their discs and that kind of thing too, with the Zangors and stuff in the mix there too. This also comes on the back of them doing some extra stuff for the factions as a whole, because they tend to do these new sets as a way of reintroducing the factions back into the Mortal Realms. So as well as the actual set itself, you'll also be able to get the new battle tones for the Disciples of Zench and for the Caradron Overlord, which of course comes with loads of new models, new rules and scenarios and all kinds of things like that in there as well. So if you like these factions, they've been updated to fit the new sort of look for Age of Sigmar. So
what do you guys make of the factions?
I'm okay with the Zench. I really don't like the Cadron Overlords.
How come?
I don't like seeing them with the Rigibubbles. They look too tacky.
Let's go with these bubbles.
They remind me of TikTok from the Wizard of Oz.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
They do have that TikTok kind of look.
It's probably because of the metallic looking beard and tash on them.
Yeah.
I don't know. For a fantasy world, it just looks too tacky.
Go back to the bigger picture of the miniature.
Eye of this dude.
Yeah.
There we go.
He does it. Someone needs to wind him up.
Yeah.
I think it looks perfectly feasible for the Mortal Realms and what they're trying to do in creating its own aesthetic and look. I mean, obviously, for those people that like more traditional dwarves, they're maybe not going to like them as much. But I think it's a cool idea. It blends together that sort of element of fantasy and steampunk that we see in other properties like Warcraft, for example, with their dwarves and gnomes. So it's something that's been done before. But,
I think this paint job hasn't helped though, because it really does look like a sort of a wind up, clockwork creature rather than an actual dwarf.
Is there a point though?
Too tacky, too sci-fi, I think.
Is there a point in a war game such as Age of Sigmar where you diversify the factions so much that you start to maybe potentially lose the overall character of the actual game? Do you know what I mean? Where you where suddenly
everything seems so desperate.
Yes, the world itself starts to lose a cohesion.
I think that's the thing that a lot of people have felt over. I mean, Age of Sigmar's been out for quite a long time now, but I think it's just a thing that people are still trying to get their head around a little bit. Because when we talked about, there was some news about the new Age of Sigmar role-playing game coming out quite soon from Cubicle 7, and even in the comments for that, people were like, "Oh man, hopefully this will give me a better understanding of the world itself and how it all mashes together." Because I think people are feeling, to a degree, some of the things you were saying there, where some of the factions feel like they're very different and disparate from each other. You've obviously then got all the different realms that are entirely different from each other in terms of the different sort of magical essences that they have and that thing as well. So it's definitely something that exists. Although I think I've seen Games Workshop seem to have been getting around to the point where they're trying to deliver something for everybody as well at the moment, which is kind of cool. So
the difficulty with trying to deliver something for everybody is you can very quickly end up delivering nothing for anybody.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
And that's my concern. In something like this, world building is a very important aspect.
Well, I've always felt kind of lost in Age of Sigmar. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why people are fighting. I don't know who hates who.
Yet all of that is there.
Yeah,
but it was pitched in such an ethereal, kind of loose, concepty kind of way in the beginning that I believe that the actual background has changed a lot. Over the time, but that initial pitch did make it rather.
Yeah, but if I'm wanting to dive into, say, the 40k universe, I've never heard of it before. I don't know what it is. you'll pick up there's 2 books. So there's Plague War, and what was the first one? I forget what the first one was, but there were 2 novels that came out with the Return of Gulliman, and that basically brought you right up to speed with what was going on in the world.
Yeah, but if I want to start a game, the first thing I don't buy is a novel. Yeah. I buy the game, and the game should have background history and that sort of thing. Yeah, and presumably Age of Sigmar has that.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
it does.
there you go.
Like if you pick up some of the sort of either the battle time for whatever faction you're in or anything like that, it does start off with explaining like the fact that Sigmar is fighting against Chaos and Archaon for all the different all points and the realm gates and that kind of thing. And then they've tried to develop a little bit more of a narrative and change the story with what they've done with Soul War, which starts to push different factions against each other, create that grander narrative for things, because you've got Nagash going up against Archaon with Sigmar on the sidelines as well. So they are developing that grand narrative again, but it's with 40k, there's obviously so much lore behind it, and people have been exposed to it in sort of general culture that it's a lot easier to get into, whereas obviously with this, they're having to effectively start from more or less baseline.
Well, if you remember the old world, I mean, like there was so much lore for it. I mean, like,
I'm not even talking about the quantity of lore. I suppose what I'm getting at is sometimes it's easier to wrap your head around and to engage with a world that is more grounded. Because if you have a world where anything is possible and everything happens, you lack the ability to actually get the flavor of the world itself.
Then I don't think Age of Sigmar is a world. People are still thinking of it. People like myself who have difficulties with it are thinking of it in terms of it's Warhammer. Warhammer 2.0.
The next gen,
they should have taken the Warhammer name off it altogether, because it's not one world where all of these people, like Tzeentch aren't in the south, Orcs aren't in the west. They're they're all in their own little. It's more like 40k where they are all on their own individual worlds or individual realms,
dimensions,
and occasionally they come into conflict. They overlap with little sort of bubbles. You're better off thinking of it as a completely new game and backstory and just whole cloth. If I came in with a new fantasy game tomorrow, you wouldn't look at it and go in terms of something you already know. You'd have to start again from scratch.
But here's my difficulty with that, right? If you set up an environment where it's so, I'm struggling to find the word, ethereally open in that sense. To me, it feels so contrived. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You lose that ability to. You look at any of the great fantasy properties, including 40k, which I can consider a fantasy property. The 40k in many respects has planets all over the world, but there's a groundedness to it, in that you're expecting these things. Lord of the Rings, these things are living creatures. Here is the where and the why of they're there. Do you know what I mean?
Rather than just there's a bubble here and a bubble there and they connect once in a while.
Well, it's not even that. It's just this you can almost feel that it's been so purposefully left open so as to be able to create, let's throw something new in there. Let's throw something new in there. And obviously the longer a world is around, the more the threads of things need to be there. It's quite difficult to introduce a new race into 40k now, because you would wonder, with the exploitations taking place all across the galaxy,
why has nobody seen them before?
Why have they not been seen before? Because there's a groundedness there. Whereas if it's just a bubble of another realm that just suddenly appears, pop.
It's too bad for 40k because they actually do have unexplored parts of the galaxy. So they have what they call lucky space out beyond the Imperial borders.
Yes, but again, it's one of those things of, you'd be introducing a race. What's the motivation of that race? Why is it attacking every other race? It's not an easy task.
They do.
Whereas it does feel to me that Age of Sigmar, and this is where the Kakardon or these overlords start to do this to me. It does feel that, okay, guys, right. If we're going to create a fantasy property, how do we create a fantasy property that gives us unlimited possibilities for constantly introducing new races, new armies, and things like that? How do we remove these these constraints that we have seen over the past 30 years that have locked us in and that let us ended up with a dying property where we struggled to add anything new to create new revenue. I admire and understand their reasoning for doing it, but equally, the other side of that is whenever you remove those constraints from the world, getting your head around the world, in my opinion, in my very humble opinion, getting your head around the world starts to become more difficult because the world lacks any grounding to tie it together.
Yeah, for me, it's being able to understand where I am and what's going on is always a huge issue. I mean, like if I'm playing 40k, I know the Emperor's on Earth, and I know that I'm out in this segment of the galaxy. I know I'm going to this planet. You know, it's very much easier to place yourself instead of just going, I am in a realm somewhere, and somehow. Well,
like you look at the number of times you've played out there. You're always playing in that smegma quadrant, isn't it? So, you love it out there playing in among that. So,
Segmentum Pacificus.
Yes.
Right. I did catch Jerry out a really good one recently.
Oh, did you?
On the Monday, we were unpacking the GW order that came in for the store.
Yes.
And I passed Shay some Age of Sigmar stuff, and without thinking, I went, "There you go, there's Age of Smegmar." And Jerry just pipes up from the door going, "Why has no one called it that before?"
Well, on the topic of continue with AOS, we have some more.
Well, there's one more thing in this news story, which is the endless spells.
Yes. And everybody knows I'm a fan of the endless spells.
These look beautiful.
I think the endless spells is a fantastic addition. I love the idea of spells being represented on the tabletop. I think it breathes a whole new life into them. I would like to see more variety because, again, you always kind of end up with that thought of the magic firebolt kind of a thing. But they are lovely sculpts.
They are lovely sculpts.
I think it's hard to deny that AOS is the best aesthetic.
Oh, they've got
that Games Workshop
stuff.
have in their entire range. Like the Age of Sigmar aesthetic is absolutely beautiful. The sculpts are incredible. Like when I walk past the Age of Sigmar stuff and I look over to the 40k stuff, I think to myself, it's just head and shoulders above it. It is just
all the bright shiny colors that are attracting you.
It's not only the bright shiny colors; it is the adventurousness of the sculpts. Obviously, the Grognard gamer in me looks at them and goes, "I will break everything,"
unless you buy something like the Skaven.
I will break Skaven because they've got lots of little sticky bits.
Oh yeah, all the little bells and crap.
Yeah. Do not underestimate my ability to break everything. And that is, I have a Night Haunt army, and every time I touch it, I break it.
Okay.
So, but I can't deny the aesthetic of it is absolutely gorgeous.
No, don't underrate that though. It's one of the reasons I haven't got an Age of Sigmar thing. Is I don't want an army of little chuckies trying to stab me at every time I reach down. And when they don't successfully stab me, it's because I've broken them.
Yeah.
Jerry, you remember the old Night Goblin Spear Regiment?
Yes, I do.
But they were nice, chunky spears.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But you could literally pop your hand down on top of the unit, touch it, and lift like 5 or 6 of the unit up with you because they were stabbing your hand.
Yes, but
they were intact.
I still have Night Goblins that are 20 odd years old, and they still have their plastic spears intact.
Yep.
Whereas I've had Age of Sigmar models that were 20 minutes old and lying flat on the table because an ankle or a bit of cloth or a thread broke.
Yeah.
It's there is a balance between
an adventurous sculpt and something
and a
that's
Warren-proof sculpt.
Well,
to be fair, it'd be a lump of clay.
I was just
Like
thinking blocks of wood.
There's one or two of them. They do just look like they should be on a shelf for display only.
Oh, they all. But there you have it. Right, we have Ogres.
Yeah. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff extra that came out towards the end of last week as well. So the ogres are secondary at the moment because I'm just going to go back to something that I alluded to in the last segment where we were looking at I was talking about what's coming next in terms of the story.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a new campaign book coming out which follows the sort of continuation of the Soul Wars, which is where Nagash has raised up his armies of the dead after the Necroquake. So you'll be pleased to know that we're back with those bony guys again, Lloyd. because they're going to be charging into the 8 points to try and take over the Baron Spire. And obviously, Archeon is not happy about that. So he's descended from his tower with his sword at the ready and his monsters and his Chaos Legions in order to try and destroy Nagash. Don't know what's happening with everyone else at the moment, but that's going to be quite interesting there. Beyond that, for Warhammer Underworlds, we've also got the new Ogre Hunter, as you talked about before. So this is Hrothgorn's Man Trappers, which is the new tribal gang that they're doing for this game. Everybody, well, hopefully you should know Warhammer Underworlds by now. It's a little skirmish board game that they do that goes down pretty well at clubs and things like that as well.
Yeah.
And this is a new model for them, which introduces a very traditional-looking ogre that a lot of people will very much like, along with some Noblars and his pet Saber-Tusk as well, which is pretty cool there too. And then to kick things off, well, sorry, not kick things off, but to finalize stuff for the Age of Sigmar news for the moment, we also got a little bit of a teaser that Teclis, the mighty mage from the old world, now turned to god in the mortal realms, is ready to bring his, as they say, pointy elves back to the world of Age of Sigmar. So all those kind of traditional elves that you might have recognized from Warhammer and the like, they're going to be coming back in a new fashion, I'd imagine.
More pointy stuff.
Teclis. Yes, so more pointy stuff for you to get stabbed on.
Well,
so,
looking at that, cut out of the miniature, it does look like there's a lot of bits that could break off there.
Well, that brings my agnostic fantasy elf army back into play. I have them pointy high elves.
Yeah.
With their massive fists. I still love them. I still think they're one of the nicest looking armies that I've ever seen. Was Teclis, did he ride around on the dragon?
No, Tyrion and Teclis were the twin brothers. Tyrion was super fighter and Teclis was super mage.
And then Imric rode around on the dragon, I believe.
Yeah, Imric was one of the dragon lords.
Yeah.
But Teclis, it's nice to see Teclis is back. It's nice to see he's still wielding the Moonstaff of Lilith, because I can quite clearly see that in that picture.
Yeah.
The Moonstaff of Lilith. Oh, there it is,
so that'll be a big crescent moon just disappearing out of picture there, being held aloft by a little elf goddess.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to see that he's still got Lilith on side, even though he seems to have become a god himself.
He's claimed a lot of stuff after that massive cataclysm, apparently.
Yeah, well, why not?
Well, just walks in and goes, see all this stuff? Mine now.
Well, he was the one who brought magic to humans.
He was, yeah.
Bet he regrets that.
Well, a little bit.
Right.
No work now.
40K.
Should have kept yourself to yourself, Teclis.